think he started coming to Greenland too.
Yes.
So it's another offshoot of.
Yes.
Anyway, Bobbie's been doing a lot of work regarding GMO-free and has accomplished quite a lot, I think, in a short time, and is getting a lot of interest for sure. She's going to give you an update on things, basically, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
go ahead,
Update
Bobbie.
and answer questions. So thank you.
Yeah.
First of all, I was really thrilled that you had asked me to speak today. That's great. The more awareness, the better. Where am I going to start? GMOs okay, we just saw the solution here. This film, I love that film, Ingredients. That is what we need to start thinking about: local food and food security. We need to start realizing that even if there is a price difference, it's so worth it to try to buy organic or as close to organic as possible. For two reasons: for nutrition and also for food security, because the most disturbing side of the industrial food system is the genetically modified foods. And how many of you are fairly familiar with GMOs? A little bit? Okay. There are only 5 main crops right now, and there's a lot of confusion about this. Hybridization is something different. 5 main crops and 9 in total. The main ones would be the canola, the corn, the soybean, the cotton. Some cottonseed is in food, but of course cotton is for clothing and Q-tips and things like that. And the cotton swabs that you put on your face and your eyes when you think about it. And the sugar beet. Monsanto in 2009 released the Roundup Ready sugar beet. And when you're buying Rogers sugar right now, and you flip the bag, it'll say ingredients sugar. And we assume it's sugarcane, but it's not. And that, to me, was quite disturbing when I first found out about that. And I already thought I knew quite a bit. I was still buying brown sugar that I thought was somehow natural, and it wasn't. So when I learned, you go through, when you start learning about GMOs, you go through a process quite often, it's common, where it starts to overwhelm you until you can start seeing that there is a growing awareness and to see that there is a solution out there. The solution is the return to farmers markets, the return to supporting and encouraging local farmers. I was talking to a farmer recently named Jazz, who has a farm in South Surrey. It's 165th block street on 40th Avenue. It's called God's Little Acre, and he's not organic. Yes. He's not organic, but he's pretty darn close, and he's actually on the move that way. But we were talking about the fact that the farmers had almost disappeared, the local farmers, because the system had not made it lucrative. And the system doesn't make it easy for organic farmers. They actually have to pay high fees. That's why Jazz decided not to go that route. He wants to feed the poor, basically. And sell his produce reasonably in order to fund the donations to the food bank. So we've got a few things to think about with our government. Well, first of all, thankfully we don't subsidize GMOs in Canada, but in the United States, and a lot of foods are produced there, the processed foods are the ones that carry most of the genetically modified ingredients. Of course, the corn now, even sweet corn, is GMO unless it's organic. The United States, without their citizens knowing, subsidizes those crops. So the reason they're so cheap is because they're being funded through the back door. And these expensive fees imposed on, even in Canada, a farmer that's trying to go organic, when you really look at it closely, it's a huge deterrent. And it's a huge deterrent for people to purchase it because, let's face it, it's a struggle to afford for most people, and I hear it all the time. So that's another thing that we have to work on. First of all, supporting local farmers. Thank goodness we have the farmers markets where we can buy direct and make it more affordable for them to sell us, or make it easier for them the farmers to sell us more affordable organic goods when there's no middleman. But now the one thing that from our GMO films, we started showing documentaries and people have started coming. We started showing films like this because the first time we did it, we made a mistake. We showed the future of food. We had nothing prepared to give people to take away for a solution, and the room was dead silent. Everybody's mouth was almost open. And I said, how many of you found this film to be worse than you imagined it would be going into this? And almost everybody put their hand up. And they were very quiet and solemn. So this solution is a natural sort of counterpart to the conversation that has to be talked about. The really interesting thing that I've started to notice is that there are a lot of farmers that are coming on board locally here lately. We've got Jazz with God's of Laker. Somebody that I know, actually is one of my clients, Kerry Campbell, he has an events business and he's just downsized it a little bit. And he's so passionate about organics, he always has been ever since I've known him. But he's starting another organic farm. I'm going to be sending out an email for people to vote for him online. He's trying to get a $5,000 grant, and if he gets enough votes, it'll help him. But he's going to do it. He's already signed up for the farmers market here. So we're seeing sort of, and then of course, we've got an organic vineyard. Lotus Land they have organically grown grapes that they use in all of their wines, and a lot of people still don't know that. So hopefully the word gets around a little bit more. But when you start seeing this kind of thing, it's encouraging that there's a bit of a renewal even for some of these farmers to start coming out and supplying us. So, and we're so fortunate that we live right here next to all this agricultural land, unlike so many other people in different areas. So we have it right here, almost in our hands. And all we have to do is create more awareness and more interest, and I think we can develop this. Now, one really important new threat is the alfalfa. Genetically modified alfalfa, and I'm not a farmer, and I never lived on a farm. I really knew very little about alfalfa until recently. Alfalfa is extremely vital for grass-fed beef. Grass-fed beef is what we want. A cow's stomach is designed to eat grass, not corn, no matter what industry will tell you. The E. coli is different in the stomach of a cow that eats corn, even if it's not GMO. They're not supposed to be eating it. 5 days apparently when a cow is eating corn, lots of it forever. If you take them off and you give them grass for 5 days, they will shed 80% of the E. coli in their stomach. I think it's their second stomach, I'm not sure which one it is. The bad E. coli, yes. And the good stuff is good, right. So there's that difference. And that is linked to a lot of these food recalls. I mean, these factory farms are huge. This toxic E. coli gets into the water system. There's spinach growing nearby on another big monocrop sprayed farm or whatever. And this is what happens, okay? And then there's a big lie that you never hear the truth about what's going on, but this is where it originates largely. We need also the manure from a healthy organic cow for organic fertilizer. And biodynamics, which actually David, Avery, and Liz practice with their vineyard, is a specific type of organic farming where you have a very a specific process. It involves the use of cow manure most of the time, and the soil comes to life. It's full of microbes and living things, not just the earthworms and the other bees and things, but it's living again. What we've got here is dead soil with monocrops. The whole thing is dysfunctional and sick, and we've all been, most of us have been really unaware for a lot of years as to how bad it is. We have dead soil and large monocrops which are unnatural in nature. Bees can't live in these crops, propped up artificially with chemical fertilizer that supplies 3 main nutrients. So they're alive, but they're not really healthy. They're supposed to have 50 nutrients apparently. and we're sustaining them, and we're eating this, and we wonder why we're all getting sick. And anyway, so the alfalfa thing is a threat that's looming, but it's certainly not sneaking in without a fight, and an organized fight. CBAN, for those of you that are not familiar, is the Canadian Biotech Action Network. It is the umbrella GMO nonprofit in Canada. Lucy Sherratt heads it out of Ottawa, and she lobbies the federal government. She is on it, on this alfalfa thing, all over it. I actually didn't even realize, because there's so much going on all the time, that when she called us to join her on emails, she said, join me on April 9th at noon to rally for not a moratorium on the rubber stamping of the GMO alfalfa to enter Canada. I thought she was asking us to join her in Ottawa, and I thought, okay, that's fine for people that live in Ontario. It's not going to happen for us, but we're with you in spirit. What she wanted was a rally in front of local MP offices. So last minute, sent out an email. To my delight, we had 25 people on a weekday at noon yesterday in front of Mark Warrowa's office, and he was committed with different appointments. We notified him only the day before, and his assistant said, well, he's not going to be able to be there. And I said, that's fine, just so you know, we're going to be very peaceful and polite, about an hour. And he showed up, and he doesn't know anything about GMOs, quite frankly, and he doesn't speak that he's not intelligent. This is a very common thing. I think this group is probably more advanced than your typical group of individuals, because you're here. A lot of intelligent people know nothing or very little, and this is the big part of the problem. But anyways, the rallies, there were 38 across the nation yesterday, including Lucy being in Ottawa, and we have to continue this. We have to win this one, because if GMO alfalfa, and Monsanto is behind it, it's Roundup Ready, if it gets in to the country, we stand to lose organic crops grown in Canada in the future. That's how serious it is. If you talk to Lucy Sherratt, she believes that we can win this. So tell your friends. Please join my email list. I will not spam you or give you give your email to anybody else, but we're going to be sending out updates, not just for screenings, but anything important like a rally. I can't imagine this is going to be the last alfalfa rally. If it is, it's a shame. We need to find an excuse to do it again. Nationwide, it's going to have to come from Lucy, but we need to get behind it.
Bobbie, a lot of this stuff, though, when it happens at noon on a workday, it excludes so many of us. That's the really frustrating thing that I find. And I know that's when the offices are open or things, but like the Saturdays, Sundays, or now that it's summer or it's spring and the maybe evening time.
Or on the weekend, something has to, or like you said, on a weekday at 7 o'clock, people have had a chance to get home, grab some dinner, and make it out to.
Write a letter or something. Serif.
Yes, right.
Put the MP's seat on fire, one way or another.
Politicians? Well, that may be to our advantage, because we do that. So, they're just. No.
You didn't explain one thing. How will GM alfalfa destroy organic farming? It's important everybody understand how.
How? Well, it will. Yes, please.
Yeah, he's the right guy. He's the right guy. Let him.
Right guy, yes.
This is the problem, is it's somewhat convoluted. You're growing alfalfa, and you're using that as a very high quality, high protein feed for your animals. So Bobbie talked about cows, and they're certainly one of the primary feeders of alfalfa, but they're not the only one. The only ones. Organic farmers tend to pasture all of their animals. So we pasture our chickens and our ducks and our geese and our pigs. They all eat the grasses, and if we could grow alfalfa successfully here, we would, because it's very high in protein, it's very nutritious. The other big advantage of alfalfa is there is no reason to spray it. Alfalfa is a grass, and it grows like a weed. So when you seed it, it comes up first, and it crowds the weeds out. There is no reason in the world for wanting to spray it with Roundup. It's totally unnecessary.
Absolutely.
And what separates this fight from all the other GMO fights is that all farmers in Canada don't want this. We don't need it. Why in the world would you want to buy chemicals to keep an inferior grass growing and out-competing the weeds when we have beautiful genetic pools of alfalfa already? It just doesn't make any sense. So the alfalfa is the feed for all the animals. The animals produce the manures. From the manures and the bedding, we produce the compost. The compost is used to fertilize the crops. It's a closed loop. If you take the alfalfa away and it becomes genetically modified, it's a grass. And therefore, the pollen from GMO alfalfa will cross-pollinate with all of the other grasses. You've now taken away all of our non-GMO sources of grass proteins for all of our animals. Organics will die in 5 or 6 years after alfalfa is introduced.
This is important for everyone to know.
Monsanto's big plan for a very long time is to kill organics, because we are fighting against GMOs harder than any other group.
And then they'll sue you.
And then they'll sue us for the privilege.
Well, you know, fire retardant is a seasonal product. And that's one of the biggest things Monsanto makes. When you see them dropping chemicals from the sky to kill forest fires, it's made up for atmosphere, or was in the Monsanto plant. So they, you can only make so much money from that sort of stuff. So it's got to diverse someplace.
They haven't figured out how much money.
Monsanto's history actually is really large, though. They were, and you want to get this, the resume? And their history, the makers of DDT, PCBs, Agent Orange, and in the 70s, Roundup, which initially they claimed was so safe you can even drink it. We know now that it's extremely carcinogenic. They have a history of not giving accurate facts. They actually have, anyways, the lawsuits against farmers, I mean, the whole thing, there's just way too much to get into, but Monsanto's, so I didn't even know about the fire retardant. That's just one
You're
more.
being too kind to Monsanto, Bobbie. They're freaking liars.
Yeah, exactly.
I just all of a sudden went, this is going to be on the internet. What am I going to say here? Now that I remember.
Everybody knows David Suzuki.
Yes.
Everybody knows David Suzuki. He's a geneticist. He has put his name under his own photograph with a famous statement going around the internet for the last couple of weeks. It says, if any politician or scientists tell you that GMO is safe, he is either very stupid or is lying.
Yes.
David Suzuki,
I've seen the
blah, blah, blah,
video
PhD
saying that.
geneticist.
I have a question that's really scary, and I can't remember where I read this because I've been reading a lot, and it was something about the Monsanto Protection Act, and it's going to a bill with
Correct.
Obama. Can someone? And apparently, if they sign this bill, then
It's signed.
it's been signed.
It's already signed.
It's a done deal.
Yeah.
It's already signed.
Monsanto Protection Act is a descriptor. It wasn't actually what it was called. But what it was is that Monsanto pushed it through because many of the executives around the president are former Monsanto executives. So, as a matter of fact, there are more this is the crazy part about Obama, there are more ex-Monsanto executives working for the U.S. government today than for any administration
Wow.
in history.
That's
So as
impressive.
good as we'd like to believe the man is, he's surrounding himself with the biotech, with Monsanto biotech executives. But the Protection Act basically says that Monsanto is now immune to all litigation from the use of their products. It's exactly the same as the cheeseburger law that came out in the States some 15 years ago that protected McDonald's and Burger King and so on from litigation from food poisoning. It's the same idea.
They're basically above the law now, but that's the United States. The hopeful thing is that we're not the United States. I feel sorry for the American people.
I think it's in Canada is not much better. We shouldn't be patting ourselves in the back.
No, we need to, no, he's right. But actually, as Tony is very, Tony is involved with AID, which is the Association for India Development, and they focus on the return to organics because India has had heart-wrenching troubles with the industrial food cropping coming in, and these multinationals and Monsanto and Syngenta and others, and many, many suicides, like staggering 250,000 from farmers that the crops failed and lots of things. But pardon me.
Fruit and vegetables. And some of it has to do with the way that they're grown, and some of it has to do simply with the water content. You know, you look at these gigantic grapefruits today, and they don't have anywhere near the flavor they did, or that the smaller ones do. And you can name fruit after fruit, vegetable after vegetable, and you'll see that correlation. So,
Good point.
I wanted to share that.
Very good.
Very good point. Yeah, thanks, David.
Well, this is true. Okay, so they look similar, and often the sprayed fruits look better, but really the nutrition quality isn't there. And we need to, that's part of the problem too, is we have to get our heads wrapped around where do we want to spend our money? What has value to us? We've been sort of brainwashed to think that we need to find cheap food and save our money for all the other luxuries and gadgets. Better cell phone, better iPhone, nicer car, and food actually. I mean, what could be more valuable? Quality food. That's where we should be investing in our health. So, yeah.
You didn't talk about sovereignty.
Sovereignty, we can't do it.
Yeah, we've run out of time, I'm afraid. We do get kicked out of this room, so.
Really quickly,
Yeah.
we've got a film event.
Oh, yes,
at
go ahead.
we've got first of all, I have some copies of ingredients
Oh, yeah.
for sale. If anybody wants to purchase a copy, they're $19 tax in, and they're with me. And I take debit and credit out there on the machine. Yeah, it makes it easy. How many of us carry cash? Not me. We showed a few films about food and GMOs already on Thursdays this spring, but our last one is tomorrow night. At the same time, it's 6:30, the doors open, and 7 o'clock. It's at the Township Hall Theatre, which is right next to Costco. You go up the ramp, it's at 20338 65th Avenue, and it will be Food Matters, which is almost a finishing counterpart to this positive film. It's about, it gets you, the first time I saw it, I went out and bought a juicer, because you watch these nutritionists and naturopaths talking about how we shouldn't have any of these degenerative diseases. We certainly shouldn't be chronically ill with diabetes. Cancer, it shouldn't even be, like, none of this stuff, it's a product of our dysfunctional industrial food system, which we're not even eating food anymore. It's just something that resembles food but doesn't really. And yeah, so if you've got the time to come out, and if you're not on our email list, please sign up onto it. If you need to find the address through the website, I've got some free bookmarks with GMOfreelangley.com and wakingupforava.com, both take you to the same site. And I've got the bookmarks with that address out there. And I also have a petition for the alfalfa. If you haven't signed it, please sign that on the way out. That's very important. We need to get those in soon to Mark Warwa's office and keep working and hopefully win this one. So thank you very much.
And vote for Mark. Vote for Wally.
And Wally Martin actually has just received notice yesterday.
Yeah, I told him. Yeah,
okay,
I did speak
accepted,
about
so-
that. Green Party candidate.
Yeah, so vote for Wally. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bobbie. Really appreciate it. Thank you.